Well, if you're someone like me who grew up with the Disney Channel back in the day, and I mean, well, honestly, I was born in 91, so I think that I would fit more into the category of the That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, Phil of the Future, even Stevens era than I would the Wizards of Waverly Place. Now, I remember the show well. If I remember correctly, it came out when I was still in high school. That was from like I graduated in '09, so I do remember the show well. But news broke yesterday about a sequel pilot, or I I guess a reboot. Well, no, if it's I don't know what the correct terminology is because isn't reboot typically when they take an older show or intellectual property and then they just like redo the entire thing? It's like, oh, here's a show. I am literally drawing a blank for some reason, which makes no sense because of all the reboots I've watched in recent years. But basically, they'll take a show, use the same characters, but instead of the same actors, it's different actors. There you go. But with a sequel series, it's like, hey, this series continues the story of the original show. So Selena Gomez and David Henry, aka Alex and Justin Russo, respectively, reunite for Wizards of Waverly Place sequel pilot for Disney. And it's kind of funny because I remember when the show came out, it was always confusion of is it Wizards of Waverly Place or Wizards on Waverly Place? Maybe just in my neighborhood. But regardless, it's kind of interesting because I know that in recent years, a number of shows have gotten like big podcasts, and like I said, from the 90s and 2000s era, you have people from different shows. What's her name, Christy Romano, who played Ren Stevens and Even Stevens, most popular for her voice acting role of Kim Possible. She put together a podcast company that's doing very well. Of course, she has a number of like child actors from back in the day come on there from like Boy Meets World. Of course, you got the Ned's Declassified podcast, the Wizards on podcast with Harper and the dad from of Waverly Place, and they've been a hit. But they've talked about a reboot so many times, yet we're finally getting one. Now, I do know that we have a little bit of a synopsis here. I'm going to read it. So, the revival pilot comes from writers and executive producers who were behind another comedy spinoff, Raven's Home, which I didn't watch every single episode. I did watch about 15, and they were actually really good. Raven's Home is one of those lightning in a bottle reboots where, just like the iCarly reboot, they do a good job picking up the story with the characters from the original, but they're older. And then they introduce like the newer generation, kind of like Girl Meets World, which apparently didn't age well. But I only watched the episodes where the original Boy Meets World cast members would come back. So I can't really speak on the whole thing about, oh, Corey's daughter and her friend Riley. I think that was her name. I don't know. I didn't really care about those characters. But, okay. It picks up after a mysterious incident at Wiz Tech, where an adult Justin Russo has left his wizard powers behind, opting for a normal human life with his wife and two sons. But he gets a surprise when a powerful young wizard in need of training shows up at his door, and Justin must embrace his past to ensure the future of the wizard world. The powerful young wizard Billy, whom Justin takes under his wing, will be portrayed by lead Brown? Hang on, let me see if I can find the name. Janice Leanne Brown, who was in the show Disney's Just Roll With It. Okay. Roman Russo, Justin's oldest son. And then we have Giada Gita. That's Justin's wife. Man, honestly, one of my favorite batch of episodes. Well, I think Family Game Night was my favorite episode of the original series. But my favorite like mini series or mini saga was the Wizards versus Vampires, and Bridget Mendler, who portrayed Juliet, one of my favorite characters. Of course, I can't remember the exact order of operations, but I want to say she was on Wizards first, Then she was in my personal favorite DCOM of all time, Lemonade Mouth, and that was a hit. And then she had Good Luck Charlie. But yeah, I'm sorry, Giada. Sorry, I think I said the name wrong. Giada is Justin's wife, and this is as disheartening as the Santa Claus series on Disney Plus, where Charlie, he didn't marry the girlfriend he had in the Santa Claus 2. So I don't know. I'm always sort of disappointed by that, where you grow up watching a movie or television series, and one of the main leads has a long-running love interest, but then if we jump to the future in a time skip, like in the series finale, or if the show gets like a reunion special or a made-for-TV movie or something continuing the story years later, and one character doesn't end up with their love interest, it is disappointing. It is realistic because, not all the time does someone end up with like their high school or college love interest. But then you also have to look at it from the production standpoint of sometimes the person just isn't available to be, in the project. So they can't film it and they just hook up the character with someone else. But I think the main takeaway from the Justin character is that since he gave up his wizard power, that means he did it because he wanted a normal life, and he got married to a mortal. And if he doesn't have his powers, that means he wouldn't be able to be with Juliet because she's a vampire. So I guess they did break up at some point. But aside from that, I don't have much else to talk about here. Because of the fact that was pretty much it. The synopsis of Justin gets pulled back into the wizard world because of this young wizard, Billy, who wants Justin to be the mentor figure. But the fact that Selena Gomez is back is kind of a big deal because, typically when Disney stars leave the corporation, become humongous megastars in their own right, it costs a pretty penny to get them back into the fold. So Justin, it seems like he'll be a major player in this series based on, the description of his character. Selena, I don't know how many episodes she's going to be in, but I think fans can agree just seeing her back is going to be a big deal. But that's all I have so far. I'm pretty confident we're going to see other characters from the original series make a comeback because of the fact that this is just a big deal. It really is. The Disney Channel lives on. So as soon as any other news comes up about the project, I'll be sure to do a quick video on it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll leave a link to the Deadline article in the comments so you can check it out for yourself. Let me know if you were a fan of Wizards, and are there any other Disney shows that you would want to come back for some sort of reboot or, movie on like a streaming service? Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.